A few months ago, I did a video of how I converted my bus, and it was just pictures we took as we did the bus conversion, and I didn't have any video because I didn't take video back then. So I thought I would do, I had great response to that. People had a lot of questions, and so I thought I'd do a series of videos showing what the bus looks like now, how certain things work, how we designed the electrical bay and the utility bay where the water is and the sewer, and how we compacted things so that we kept maximum amount of storage left over, and then just how the systems work and that type of thing. I don't know if people will be interested, but I just wanted to make that opportunity available for people to see that, and I really like talking about the bus, so I thought I would just take a little bit of time and do a series of videos, so I hope you all enjoy them. So when I bought this bus, we owned a just a regular RV style Class A RV, and it had almost zero storage in it. So when we converted this, we tried really hard to keep as much storage as possible. And so this is on the driver's side, of course, and this first bay is completely open from one side to the other, runs straight across. And then the next one on this side is where we keep the propane, and then the last one down there is where all the plumbing and electrical is housed. Okay, so now I'll take a minute to show you a little bit closer. Alright, so this is the propane bay, and they sit down in a couple of holes in that piece of plywood, and then there's just a load binder here that keeps them bound. Let me show you that mechanism a little bit closer. Yeah, you can see it there. It's just got a spring that pulls it up, and then it holds those down in place, just presses them down. And then right over here is a manifold that those tanks feed this manifold, and we welded this up just out of pipe and nipples, and it's got a valve for each one. It's marked there. You can see dryer, fridge, water heater, furnace, and the range. And then you'll notice down here in the floor, whoops, you'll notice down here in the floor there's holes drilled out on each side, and you can look up and it tells you for these size tanks and all how much ventilation you need in order to, in other words, if they were to leak, you know, the propane will go down, and this compartment is sealed off from the other side and from all the other places, so that if you had a propane leak, it would leak out, you know, down through there and not get somewhere where it could get a spark and ignite. Okay, so that brings us over here to the driver's side of the utility bay. I'll show you the other side in just a little bit, but I've got it open right now. You can see the doors, the actual doors up there. That's where the electrical hooks on right there, and it actually comes in. It actually mates up right here when you close the bay. So this is how the exterior of the coach looks when you have the bay door closed and you got your water hooked up right here. It's got a nice seal there, and the same thing on the electrical side. The cord goes through there, and it comes over here, and it comes through that hole right there, and then I loop it up on the floor right there, so it gets it out of the way. And then also in this propane bay over here, I forgot to say, when I'm traveling, I put a 5-gallon bucket on this side. I loop up the electrical on the floor, and then in the middle of that I put a 5-gallon bucket, and that's where my water hose goes. And then over here on this side I put another 5-gallon bucket, and that's where my sewer hose goes. Okay, so up here at the top you've got, that's the black water, this is the gray water, and then underneath that, inside an enclosure, is actually the fresh water. You'll see it better on the other side. But you can see here the drain for the gray water comes out right there, and it flows across the bottom and over to the right and comes out right here and under the coach. This pipe right here comes from the black water, and it dumps off the front a little bit farther up. So the toilet sits right above the black water and goes in. You can see it going in right there. Okay, this is the valve to open from the gray water. There's also one for the black water, but this is a windshield, well, no. This is a side window motor for a car, and we rigged that up so that it will open and close these valves for us, so we can do it from inside. That way, you know, if it's the middle of the night and you need to dump your black water or something like that, or your gray water, then you can do it from inside and do it electrically. And then if for some reason that were to that system were to fail, you can just cut these wire ties and do it manually, like you would have done anyway. But this has been working in here for years and had no problem whatsoever. Now this is the wiring that shows where you dump the gray and the black water. They're labeled, you know, black water and gray water right there. And you just move this toggle switch, and you see it's green right now. That means it's closed and you're good to go down the road. If you wanted to dump it, you push it down, the green light will go out, and you hold that until the red light comes on, and that tells you that the valve is completely open and it's dumping. So you would want to always make sure you've got green lights there before you start heading down the road. Over here to the right is where the water comes in, and then it travels over, and first thing it does is it hits a water filter right there on the side, and then I'll show you where it goes on the other side. So if we're looking at the passenger side of the coach, and this is the back here, you've got a utility bay, and then you've got, this is the bay where the propane's on the other side, and then this is the front bay that is open all the way through. So now let's walk through those. This is the last bay on the passenger side, and on the opposite side is where the electric and the water comes in. So the water line, after it goes through the filter, comes here. It tees and goes to a 2-gallon pressure tank. That way, if you're using your pump, it's not having to cycle every single time that you're accessing the water. And coming off of the water line from plugging in, you know, the hose line, that pressure also helps regulate it and keep it from going, you know, strong and then weak and strong and weak. So anyway, then also there's a handle here so that I can open this and it'll fill my fresh water tank. And then this, of course, is the pump. So if you fill the fresh water tank, it pumps out over here. You can drain the tank here. The pump picks it up here, comes up into the pump, and then back into this T and into the main water system. This is just an air inlet or outlet, depending on whether you're filling it or pumping water out of it, and it's got a anti-siphon up here at the top of it. Okay, so the rest of this is the electrical bay, and there's 3 ways to get 110 volts out of this. There's the shore power, which is the big electrical cord that plugs in, or there's the generator, and there's also an inverter. So all of that has to be separated. You can't ever connect an inverter or a generator or your land power together. So this first box here is just from the inverter. Now, if you're on shore power or you're on the generator, those will power this and not the inverter. The inverter only does, it's got a separate box because it only does a few outlets, because that way, if you're going down the road and you're not running the generator, you could still charge a computer or something small like that, but you're not going to get a whole lot of power out of an inverter. Now, this right here is a relay that separates those 3 different types of power. So if the relay only will shift to one source of power at a time, and so that way if you were plugged into your landline and you turned on the generator, it would keep those 2 from coming together. It also keeps the, if you plug in, it keeps that from burning up your inverter. Okay, so then this is the main house breakers right there. That runs all your outlets, all your appliances, air conditioners, and that type of thing. This is just an outlet to have available here in this bay. All the bays have an outlet in them. They also have a light that when you open the door, the light comes on. This is a battery charger and a 12-volt power supply. So this will run most of the lights and all that kind of stuff in the bus when you're not connected to your house batteries. So the power from the house batteries comes in up here at the top on this main bus, and then the main bus feeds the inverter. It also feeds these 3 terminals. Each one of these is a fuse that goes to a line that runs out to some type of 12-volt power out in the house, whether that be a light or a fan or just whatever it is that it's running. Now, all of the wiring in the coach is from extension cords. If you got something that's moving, you don't want solid strand like a Romex, because it'll fatigue over time and break. And so extension cords is a very cheap source of stranded wire that you can use, and it's been in here for over 10 years and it still shows absolutely no sign of deteriorating at all. Okay, so alright, I think that's it in this bay. Alright, so now let's talk about this middle bay. And the main thing in here is we have a chest freezer that rolls in and out, and you can open it up. So my wife usually cooks enough food for us ahead of time. We freeze it in here. She'll come out once a day, get what she wants for the day, and put it in here. Get it out of here and take it inside. And then on the back side of this, let me move you around here. On the back side, it's just a tray. I keep some leveling stuff there. Usually when I go, I take a toolbox and maybe some jacks and stuff like that, and I'll load those right there. It just kind of gives me a nice storage place where you can roll that out and pick up heavy stuff off of there. Now the rest of the bay, as you can see, is just empty. That we do have up back there is the connection up there. That's where the electrical comes in from the outside, and there's a junction box that ties in the lugs from the extension cord that goes out of the bus. Now back here in this corner right here, is a compressor, and what that's for is it works an air leveling system that I'll talk about a little bit later. And here we are again on the front, and there's not really much to talk about here because it's an empty bay, but over there is a tank that holds antifreeze for the house generator, and then right there is an access panel to get into the blower for the generator. All right, let's talk about the generator. This is where the air conditioning condenser or evaporator, anyway, this is where part of the air conditioning was originally, and we took it out and we put a generator in its place. You can see the muffler right there underneath the coach, and I'm going to open that up. On an MCI bus, it has a lot of these screws that you turn. Now, let me just take a second to show you this screwdriver. It's like a stubby screwdriver, but it's got a long handle. It's made by Craftsman, and it's a number 41586. And it is an essential tool if you own one of these. If you have the regular stubby, you don't have enough leverage, and if you try to use a long screwdriver to open these, you skate off because it's so long. Anyway, this is a great screwdriver for this job. Some of these are kind of hard to turn. Alright, this is the generator. It's a 10,000 watt diesel generator, or a 10K diesel generator. It will more than run everything on this coach, and it actually runs very quiet. It's got the muffler down here. It's like a car muffler. So I mean, you can hear it, but it does run really quiet. It's a Rico, W-R-I-C-O International. This thing runs when we go down the road. The air conditioning is the roof air, and so we turn this on. It runs the roof air conditioners as we go down the road, and so it runs a lot of the time when we're on the road, unless we're plugged into shore power somewhere. But this thing, it's a diesel, and so it just runs and runs. The only thing I've ever had to do to it is just change a little bit of oil in it. But this Rico brand, it's a really good generator. The last couple of things I want to show you on the passenger side of the coach. See, there's the front door. So right behind that is on the right hand side here. This is where you fill it with diesel. Right there. Holds 144 gallons. It says right there, 144 gallons. And then this is the battery bay. Runs 24 volts. And so you've got two 12-volt batteries here. And then I used to have another separate battery up here to run the generator on the other side, but I actually just put a tap in between these two. And so, I mean, as y'all know, batteries are expensive, and you know, running 4 house batteries and 2 batteries to start it and another battery to run a generator, you know, it gets kind of expensive. So I tried to cut it back, and so I'm just using these, and I've got a cutoff switch right over here on the side. If you can see it up in there, got to cut off this. This turns the power. This comes with the bus when you get it. That's on, and then that disconnects your batteries from the rest of the coach. But right here I've got another switch that I can disconnect the power that goes to the generator over there if I were to need to do that. Well, I hope you're finding this series interesting, and you'll continue to watch all of the parts of it. And as usual, thank you for watching.